ago. So I'm excited to see how far it's come. Brandon, nice to see you as well. It's been a while since I've seen you too.
Hello.
Awesome. Well, I'm going to kick us off. People will join as they join, but good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time of day it is for all of you, and welcome back to the Enterprise User Group. We are finally able to get this back up and running on a monthly basis. So it's wonderful to see old and new faces today. Quick reintroduction of myself. I'm Nick Erickson. I'm the senior senior systems architect at Pinterest for the support experience. I was the original user group leader when it started late last year. And I'm excited to have some time to dedicate to this group again, now that I have a co-leader in the form of Tiffany. Tiffany, if you want to do a quick introduction for yourself.
Sure thing. Thanks, Nick. Hi, everybody, and I'm super excited to be here. I am the Director of Operations Enterprise Applications for Togetherwork. Togetherwork is a company that provides integrated software and financial solutions to communities, groups, and organizations. We have about 22 brands in Zendesk. We have about 200 agents. I also oversee our other tools, Monday, Front, Twilio, Zapier, all the different tools that our operations teams use. I have a team of system administrators and subject matter experts that support our users internally. So I'm very excited to share from my experience as well as learn from all of you. We are going to be having these meetings on a monthly basis now, and I'm super excited to learn more about the Layout Builder from Paul, who I did meet at Relate, and it was a nice reconnection to have him join us and share about all of the exciting things that are coming down the line. So I will hand it over to you, Paul. If you're ready. Bad joke.
Yeah, here we go. I think I'm ready. Sorry, just getting my setup going here. Can everybody see my screen? I think so. Awesome. Thank you so much, Tiffany, Nicholas, and just to the whole enterprise user group for having me for what it sounds like the latest and greatest iteration of this user group. Sounds like I'm here to kick things off again, which is pretty awesome. A little bit about myself. I work in product marketing, just recently moving into our core product agent workspace. And I'm here to talk about options for building flexible layouts inside of Zendesk, specifically the Layout Builder EAP, but I'll also kind of give you a glimpse of some other cool stuff that's coming that we help will bring more customization to your Zendesk instances, which we know is pretty important for enterprise customers who are running like multi-group, multi-brand scenarios. So what I'm planning on covering today is what Layout Builder is, for those who haven't seen it before, how it can help admins and agents be more productive, be more efficient. I'm going to share some different use cases and examples throughout my presentation as well of how you might want to think about deploying it in an enterprise environment. Our product manager for Layout Builder, Paul Vaughn, there's two Pauls, there's me and there's another Paul who works on the product side of things. He's unfortunately in Melbourne and couldn't join us today. He's actually at a workshop right now where they're actually talking about the future roadmap for Layout Builder. But he's put together a quick demo for us. It's under 5 minutes. I'm going to share it and he'll be with us in spirit. And of course, I'll finish and wrap things up with a glimpse of the roadmap that we have ahead for Layout Builder as well. That'll probably take me about 20 minutes or so to get through all this content, and then I'm happy to open things up for any questions, just general discussion, feedback as well. All right, so Layout Builder. This actually was a voice of customer generated feature from our enterprise customers, actually. You've been telling us for a while now that customization is important. You've been dealing with UI constraints within Zendesk for a while. The product limitations that we see today are really around there being like a static support user interface, which can't really be customized today to fit your unique workflows. So agents are struggling with maybe too much information or irrelevant information within their ticket UI. And that causes them to have excessive scrolling to find what they need to solve a ticket. That means time spent just getting their workflow in order. Other thing as well is just that context today doesn't just fit nicely on a single screen. It's taking agents, or feedback that we're getting is that it sometimes take agents who are multi-skilled too many clicks and pivots outside of the tickets UI to actually get the information that they need to resolve an issue, which can be a drag on their productivity. And then this all gets compounded by lack of personalization at the UI component level that just causes challenges for what agents are actually able to see. For example, we know, or what we've heard anyway, the feedback we've got is that space inside the sidebar it really makes it difficult for agents to work within because of the size constraints. If you're spending a lot of time inside apps inside of the sidebar, what we've heard sometimes is that it's just not optimal for agents to resolve their tickets. So that's why we introduced Layout Builder. It's currently in EAP. It's a unique no code solution to this problem that we've been hearing from customers. So what we're doing is making it easy for you to customize the agent workspace ticket UI. So that it can help fit your business needs. So what you're going to be able to do with it is create custom layouts so that you can find key information faster and so that agents can only see what they need to be productive. What I think is pretty cool is that it's all drag and drop. This means that admins can create different dynamic layouts based on roles, ticket workflows by adding and removing components, and they can place you can place your most impactful apps as standalone components within the ticket UI or resize columns to adjust to a particular workflow. Or create a default layout for all of your agents to use. Um, I'm hoping that some of what I cover next is going to get you excited about Layout Builder, wanting to go and join the EAP if you haven't already, so that you actually can go sign up and get started using it. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit more about what you can actually do with Layout Builder, just double clicking into that. Combined with contextual workspaces, Layout Builder can actually become like a really powerful productivity tool. What we actually heard early on in the first iteration of the EAP that we had is like, oh, Layout Builder, the ability to dynamically adapt my user interface is pretty neat, but it's useless to me if it doesn't work with contextual workspaces. So we heard that feedback and we addressed it. And I'm just going to talk a little bit about how all that works together. So I'm not sure how many of you are actually using contextual workspaces today. Feel free to tell me if you are inside of the chat. But for those who aren't, here's how it works. Contextual workspaces lets you create customized ticket workflows based on a series of conditions. And it lets you simplify the forms, relevant macros, etc., that agents see when they first open a ticket. So you can expand, collapse, reorder apps, which is particularly useful for enterprise customers running multi-group, multi-brand scenarios, which I'm assuming many of you here probably know a thing or two about. And thanks, Julie. I see a few people here saying that they're using contextual workspaces, so you definitely know a thing or two what I'm talking about. So you might have seen, if you signed up for the Layout Builder EAP, that contextual workspaces now are linked to Layout Builder. What you can do now is create a custom layout and assign it to a contextual workspace, giving agents the ideal ticket interface, what they to do their jobs really. So you basically set the criteria of how you want the ticket UI to adapt to what you had, the components that you laid out inside of the contextual workspace, and now you can dictate which layout to use based on product brands, agent groups, ticket forms that you define, and using both together of the contextual layouts and layout builder really helps to get agents to see the right ticket layouts at the right time. Um, what I like to the way I like to kind of think about it is like contextual workspaces is it's the what. So what do I want agents to see? And layout builder becomes the how. So how do I want agents to see what I want them to see? So that's kind of how, like, when you put these two things combined, that's where some of the beauty in all of this actually lies now, because not only are you defining just the components, but you're actually maximizing the UI of the ticket as well and adapting it to those unique workflows that you have for your brands and so on. The set of workspaces you define, by the way, can be as simple or as detailed as you want. For example, you could have a single workspace, just one, that defines the ticket form and tools for your like say you have a single customer support team, or you could define a full set of workspaces. Say you have a fulfillment center, and you have different types of international shipping locations, product types, currencies across multiple brands. You can go as crazy as you want and adapt everything to those particular, those specific scenarios. There are three main use cases that have emerged for Layout Builder that I think apply to a lot of you here today, namely around the multi-group. So this is for customers who have different workflows for different groups or types of work. This can be like an example of how this can work is that a layout is simplified for say like a simple tier one use case, not complex, whereas the ticket UI is really kind of maximized for what we could call a more complex tier three issue. Maybe it requires multiple apps, different contextual components to really sort of get a ticket solved where it needs to be. Also multi-brand, so customers who have different workflows for different brands, you could actually apply a specific layout to each brand who might need to use different apps, workflows, forms, etc. And the last one being multi-app as well. We hear like in some cases, agents are using like 20 apps in their day-to-day. So if you have a lot of different apps installed, private apps as well, you can think about ways that you can sort of move those into the main part of the ticket UI to make it render better, to bring it where agents are more likely to want to work from and use it. All of this, of course, is really around just trying to maximize efficiency, make tickets get solved faster, to get the job done quickly, and just helping to sort of remove any distractions. And time spent clicking on things, really, like if you're spending 10, 20, 30 seconds actually just setting up your agent workspace, multiply that by the number of times you do that in a day, a week, a month, you can sort of see how much time you can actually save just by having, just eliminating these unnecessary clicks, just getting set up to get the job done. So that's really what we're trying to solve here with Layout Builder. Um, why we're excited about how we're seeing Layout Builder helping agents based on some of the feedback that we've been hearing in the EAP. What we've been hearing is that it brings added focus for agents, because agent workflows are optimized by dynamically displaying relevant information with contextual workspaces. This helps to eliminate distractions that might keep them from getting the job done. Speed is another one. Agents being able to solve issues faster because those critical parts of their workspace is adapted to tackle the task at hand. So there's no need to go searching for things anymore or spending time clicking through those components like I was just saying before. And of course, just bringing context where it's most useful within the ticket UI for agents as well. Creating a single view of your customer by moving important apps out of the sidebar, maybe, and moving that directly into the main workspace is also just setting agents up for success, helping them be faster and more efficient in their day to day. It's not just for for agents. There's some admin components as well, which I think is worth highlighting around why it's helping our admins as well. You'll be happy to know that Layout Builder, like I was saying before, doesn't require any coding, no developers needed. It's a drag and drop interface. It's the first time that we've actually been using something of that nature inside of Zendesk, which was pretty cool. It's also very fast and intuitive. So custom layouts can actually be deployed, edited, and duplicated in minutes. And I'll also share a roadmap item in a second that you might find helpful as well about just getting you up and running quickly. And of course, we hope that one of the things that we hope you love about Zendesk is that it's like a native component to Zendesk that works seamlessly with the rest of Zendesk. Example, the contextual workspaces, tickets, macros, automations, intelligent workflows, and more. And we're hoping, again, I'll speak to it a little bit more when I get to roadmap, but we're hoping to bring this beyond just the ticket UI and into the rest of Zendesk as well to give you more flexibility, more customizability to make Zendesk work the way that you want it to for your specific business needs. So I'm going to go ahead and get this demo started here. I'm hoping I can actually make it bigger. Let's hope I'm going to be able to do this. By the way, tell me if you cannot hear it on your side. Just before we get started, can everybody hear hear what I'm projecting? Yes, I see thumbs up. Yeah. Okay.
Yes, a little loud, a little bit loud, but maybe that's just me.
A little loud. Okay, let me turn this down. See if this helps. Is that better? Just before we get into it, is that better? Did adjusting the volume help, Nicholas? I think it was Nicholas you were talking.
Yep, you're good, Paul. I was giving you thumbs up.
Okay, sorry, I couldn't see you on the screen. Okay, all right, I'm gonna play it. It's just under 5 minutes, and it's Paul Vaughn, other Paul, who's just walking us through some of the stuff that I've been talking about here, so you can actually see it in action.
Hey folks, so this is going to be the pre-release review for Contextual Workspaces plus Layouts. I'm going to jump in the demo as part of the Admin Center. We'll go ahead to Workspaces. You'll see Contextual Workspaces here as well as Layouts. In Layouts, I've already gone ahead and created the 3 layouts that I'll be using. So there's the standard layout that is out of the box for Zendesk. There's my custom layout 1, my custom layout 2, and my custom layout 3. Right here, this is an enhancement that we included as part of the Contextual Workspaces work. Essentially, it shows the number of workspaces that each layout is associated with. And if you hover over the number, you'll actually be able to see which layouts are attached to it. And you'll be able to go and be directly linked to that particular layout or to that particular contextual workspace. So in this case, if we go back to this view right here, we'll see that workspace 3 for tier 3 agents is connected to custom layout 3. If we back into here, you'll get into the home screen for contextual workspaces. We have 3 active workspaces that I've set up and I've ranked them in order. So I have a workspace for what I call tier 1 agents, workspace for what I call tier 2 agents, and workspace for tier 3 agents. As you can see here, there's the layout that's associated with it, just for clarity. And if I click into each one of these workspaces, we'll be able to go through kind of how this works. So contextual workspaces had always had this details page, ticket forms, macros, apps, and now we've gone ahead and added this new tab here called layouts. So here I can choose between all the layouts that I have available. Default layout is whatever is set as the default. Currently, that's the standard layout. I can also have the option of adding a layout here if I don't see a layout that works for me. And clicking on this will just take me over back into the create layouts page for me to directly create that layout. So if I go back here, we already have custom layout 2 selected, so no need to make any changes here. If I did though, same thing, I can click edit layout and it will take me directly to custom layout 2. And it's just making it easier for admins as they're going between these two experiences to be able to hop between them pretty seamlessly. So if we go back here, we have these set up already. And basically what it is that all my conditions across these three workspaces is I have the conditions set up so that a group is equal to whatever group this is appropriate for. So for this one, it's for my tier 1 agents. And then for this workspace, it's set as group for tier 2 agents and workspace for tier 3 agents. So what does that look like actually on the agent side? If I hop over here into views, let's go ahead and select a ticket that doesn't currently have a view that's applied. We'll go ahead and just click this one right here from JJ. So as you can see, this is our standard layout, right? We have ticket fields on the left, combo in the middle, and then we have customer context on the right side. This is pretty standard. If we go ahead and what we'll do is we'll take this and we'll say, I actually want to reassign this to a tier 1 agent. Let's go and reassign it to me. I am in all the groups. And you'll see that this actually dynamically updates to the new view, which is basically only the conversation. And the idea is I want my agent to be really focused on the customer conversation, but still have access to things like ticket fields, like customer context, like knowledge, etc. in the context panel, but I have the option of being able to hide that away as well. So I'll hide that away, and then we'll be able to only be focused on the conversation itself. Here, if I switch over to tier 2, for example, so I'll reassign it to myself as a tier 2 agent, I get a new layout. Here, it's basically saying, hey, I want to be really focused on knowledge, so I see a different view. And then finally, for the last set of layouts, if I want to say see it as a tier 3 agent, I'll have a new app here because maybe I'm more focused on internal tickets and I want to be able to stand this up for my dev teams.
Oh, hold on, I want to stop playing. So sorry, I did that, made it make that noise again. Hopefully I didn't destroy your eardrums. And thank you for bearing with me with the technical difficulties. I didn't realize that Bevy was going to turn off my video. I thought my video was off the whole time, which would have been super embarrassing. But okay, so that's the that was the quick demo from Paul again, who couldn't be with us today. But hopefully it gives you a sense of sort of like the power of Layout Builder and contextual workspaces, and how working together they can really sort of bring that customization that's been lacking to the ticket UI into Zendesk. I do want to spend the last couple of minutes before opening it up to discussion or questions, just to give you a kind of sneak peek of roadmap. Some of this is mostly near term, near term being the next like probably 6 months or so. And what we're going to be investing in with the plans is that a couple of things. One, making the core builder functionality more powerful. So by adding more structural elements that will let you better organize the agent workspace, and also bringing the ability to control things like the pinning of apps within the ticket UI as well. The next one is going to be around making triggering layouts conditionally easier by bringing more conditions into contextual workspaces, as well as the ability to preview what you're building before you deploy it. And lastly, around extending this concept of having a flexible user interface to other areas of Zendesk beyond the ticket UI. So the customer profile, org, custom records, and so on. So those are sort of like some of the areas in the near term that we're going to be focusing on. But like I said, it is a priority to for us to kind of bring more functionality into Zendesk to help customers kind of tailor it to their specific needs. And there's going to be a lot of focus on that next year. So like I have three things that I wanted to sort of share that are almost here. The first one being app shortcuts in the context panel. App Shortcuts is actually, I think it's releasing in the next week or two, actually. It lets agents pin their favorite or most frequently used apps to the agent workspace UI. It's particularly useful for agents who have tons of apps, but who only, use one or two all the time. And rather than have to go digging into the sidebar to find that app, they can actually pin it to their workspace. So that's going to be made available to all of agents. But what we're targeting for later this year is to actually augment Layout Builder capabilities by allowing individual apps to be pinned in the context panel as well. So the scope where we're going to be focusing on here is just allowing admins to determine which apps to pin for their agents, as well as whether agents are even allowed to pin apps themselves. So there's like a permissions element to it as well. And next one that's a fast follow is going to be the Global Essentials card. This one is targeted for later this year, Q4 this year. We have an adjacent team who's actually going to be sharing a configurable component called the Global Essentials card. It's going to allow customers to highlight up to 20 fields related to their user information. And the plan for Layout Builder is to kind of link between this Global Essentials card and Layout Builder so that you can create a more seamless layout building experience and really define what you want to pin inside of the Global Essentials card to actually render within that card and have full control over it. And then the last one here is more structural components. This is targeted for early next year. We want to bring more what we're calling structural elements to Layout Builder in the form of tabs, accordions to allow admins to maximize the screen real estate. We want that to be something that you could just drag and drop into your layout, and so that you can actually drag and drop predefined landing zones that will allow relevant or similar information to be grouped together. And you should be able to, again, just to make the layout work, adapt itself to you. You can actually you'll be able to label things within the ticket UI as well for better context when you're grouping things together. So hopefully I managed to get you a little bit excited about Layout Builder. Like I said, we're still looking for customers like yourselves to sign up for the EAP and start using it. Layout Builder is an enterprise. It's only available on enterprise plans, which is why I thought it would be good to get in front of you to talk about it. Yeah, I'm gonna actually like link to some information to show you how you can get started with it if you're interested in learning a little bit more about it. And I think that's kind of all I've had on my end, Tiffany. So if you want me to hand it back to you for any specific questions, feedback, discuss anything that we just saw in more detail, I'm happy to do that. It was kind of hard to pay attention to what's going on in the chat while presenting, so I'm not sure if some like specific questions came
Absolutely.
up while I was going through things as well.
Yeah, we've got a few questions in the chat that we can start to go through, but thank you so much for taking the time. This is super exciting. I wanted to go back to one question that was flowing up the top there. So we've got, what kind of conditions are being considered?
Ooh, I'll have to follow up on that one because Paul would probably know what the additional conditions are. I know we have a help center article that lays out the ones that we have today, but I'm not quite sure what the ones that are coming are. But I can definitely circle back on that one.
Awesome. Let's see. We've also got, where is it? Will we be able to allow some agents to pin and others not to be able to pin?
Yeah, I think I addressed that. Like, so when I was talking through app shortcuts for this one here, when we release app shortcuts and make it generally available later this month is when it's scheduled to go out. All agents are now going to be able to do like to pin things, but for those who are actually using Layout Builder, there's going to be the ability to set permissions on whether agents are actually allowed to do this or not. So there will be a control, like a permissions or control component to this, which is kind of embedded into the Layout Builder functionality.
Awesome. Yeah, Nick and Dan were having a great conversation about the ability to customize it, maybe even create personal things there in the chat. So Nick or Dan, did you guys want to weigh in on that while we're on this topic?
Yeah, I can start, and then if Dan Dan can always add stuff. I was more thinking, Paul, first off, the permissions, I'm guessing, will that be associated with like a role option, like within a role? So like say a staff could do it, but a contractor couldn't, type thing. I'm guessing somewhere in the roles will be where we'd manage it.
I believe so. I don't have the full details on what the plan is going to be, but if that's of interest to you, I can always get other Paul to give me some more details. I'm just going to call him other Paul for the time being. Other Paul to get me more details on this and let you know sort of what that permissions, like how at the permissions level that's all going to work. It's probably going to be by role.
Yeah, that'd be great. And I think I'm taking some notes here. And I think what we can plan on doing is sending out a email with follow-up answers once we get them from you, Paul, to the group that's here. I think that'd be really great.
Yeah, for sure.
In regards to the customization thing, Dan and I were having a conversation in the chat around essentially like if an agent has their own preferred workflow that may trump a predefined layout that they want to use, would they have, in the same vein of like a personal view, be able to make a personal layout that would take precedent, so to speak? Is that something you guys are considering, or is it something that you've even had feedback on? Because I see a world where, for me, for example, I may want to work in a different way that's more efficient for my own personal work style.
Yep. So like basically it's like bringing Layout Builder like customization to the agent essentially.
Yeah.
I haven't seen that on the roadmap yet, but it doesn't necessarily mean it hasn't been brought up or brought to our attention before as a use case that people are interested in having us solve. Again, I'm kind of gonna need to rely on other Paul to answer some of that stuff because he's more like he's in Melbourne right now, actually working with the design team on sort of what's next for Layout Builder. So it's actually probably pretty helpful for me to pass and relay some of this information over to him in real time to let him know that this kind of stuff has come up. The only thing I think that can be done today is, as you've probably seen, the first release of Layout Builder, or even just any kind of flexibility into the ticket UI, like agents can sort of, you can move the you can sort of move the components around like with that drag and drop thing now, but that's about as much as you can do for the time being. Agents can't just be sort of like, I'm going to bring this app over here and whatnot. But
I want to give a plug for Nick's idea. I love the idea of a form, like similar to the form dropdown. You just have a dropdown for the different layouts that you might have favorited or something. It would be amazing.
Definitely. I mean, things like app shortcuts, the ability for agents themselves to kind of just move things around. I mean, it's all in the spirit of bringing more flexibility into the ticket UI where agents are. So I haven't seen it in the near-term roadmap, but I'll follow up and see if there's something planned a little bit further down the road, or maybe we just reprioritize. Yep.
Oh, awesome. A couple of questions around the EAP signup. So Kristen asks how long the signup takes to enroll after signing up. And then Nino had, how long will the EAP last?
Yeah, so I've been seeing normally when you sign up for the EAP and you get into it, normally it takes 24 to 48 hours for it to actually just get to an engineer who will take a look at your Zendesk instance and turn it on for you. Layout Builder EAP is going to go straight from EAP into GA. It's not going from EAP to beta to GA, and it's currently scheduled for around. Again, this may change, so don't say I promised it's coming out at this time, but it's currently scheduled for mid-November timeframe. That's the plan for sort of when we're going to get it out for the time being. So there's still a couple of months left to enjoy the EAP. We're not going to be bringing any new functionality immediately. Like EAP is basically going to equal GA. So if you're waiting for GA, there's not going to actually be any difference in features and functionality either. What we're addressing right now is just making sure the performance of Layout Builder is where we want it to be. It's actually more sort of like, like when at scale, just making sure that Layout Builder, when it's like enterprise companies who have agents in the thousands of agents using this thing, we want to make sure that it's not actually a drag on performance, taking more than like 1.5, like a certain amount of time for the layout to dynamically render. So that's what we're focusing on right now. It's really performance and scale issues. It's not new features and functionality.
Awesome. There's just a few more questions in the chat, and then we can open it up for everyone to chime in. We've got, would we be able to apply a layout based on who the user is? For example, Agent X's layout is always this, regardless of what they're working on.
I believe that that's possible. I don't have the condition that you would set up in front of me, but it's something that you should be able to do.
And it sounds like Julie's question is similar. Will the permissions be set per agent or by the role?
Yeah, so that's the one that we'll follow up. Like Nick, when Nick sends the email out, we'll make sure that gets that the plan anyway gets addressed.
Okay. Awesome. Last question in the chat is, what's next once EAP is done, or what's going to be the plan after EAP?
Yep. Thanks, Nina, for the question. I think, like I was saying right now, like when we go from EAP to like GA, there's not going to be any immediate new features and functionality. What's next is the couple of things that I was just showing before here. So like these are sort of like guaranteed items that are going to be released next after Layout Builder GA. So the whole like app shortcuts in the context panel, setting the roles and permissions as to whether your agents want to be can actually set their own app shortcuts or not. That global essentials card that I was talking about as well, and just the additional structural components to be able to sort of group things together, label things if you want. So that's going to be the immediate next steps after we moved from GA, but no new features and functionality until we GA.
I think that's fantastic, Paul. I also just I want to share my appreciation that you guys are focusing on, especially from the enterprise perspective, scalability and efficiency. Zendesk historically has had a really good track record of releasing something and then another thing, then another thing, then another thing, which is really great. We all love new features, but oftentimes the less sexy like tech debt and optimization work doesn't get done after GA. So I'm really excited that you guys are building a really good foundation for this tool, because I think this is going to be a very big game changer and a big impactful tool, but it has to meet scale, especially in the enterprise space, right?
Correct.
So I'm excited for that, and I appreciate the attention to that portion of the project.
Yeah, no, and thank you for that feedback as well. In fact, that's the real, like, we'd be ready otherwise to GA it, but it's actually the fact that we want to make sure that we don't introduce this new feature with so many performance issues that is actually delaying the GA. Because it's something we've never done before. And so we're doing a lot of load testing on it to make sure that if we release this at scale, it doesn't suddenly cause agents like, 10 seconds for like, well, I'm exaggerating, but X number of seconds way too long for the ticket to dynamically update and render itself. itself. So there, to your point, there's a lot of extra and special attention that is going into this because again, it's an enterprise grade feature. It's only for our enterprise customers, and we know that scale is of concern here. So we don't want to be in a position where we find out after the fact that it's causing performance issues and getting customers unhappy. We do not want unhappy customers as a result of this. So you heard it here first.
It's very much appreciated. We don't like being unhappy customers because, especially in the enterprise space, we tend to have a lot of people yelling at us like, hey, why is this broken? So it's a trickle down of a good experience for everyone. If they're having a bad experience, you heard it from me, right? And I don't want that to have to flow that way. I suppose at that point, floor is open to questions from anyone, either in the chat or via voice. I wrote down about 20 questions because I have all sorts of questions, but I will not commandeer all of Paul's time. So feel free to unmute yourself and ask Paul questions if you'd like. Otherwise, I have a bunch of I can ask.
And by the way, shameless plug too, there's also going to be an admin user group where I've also been invited to talk about Layout Builder next week as well. So for those of you who are a little bit more technical, I'm Paul. I don't know how we're going to do this next week, but there will be 2 Pauls next week. So we'll have to figure out what we're going to call ourselves next week. And he should be he definitely, as the product owner for Layout Builder, has a lot more of that technical knowledge than I do on sort of more of the go-to-market side of things in my product marketing world. So definitely, I would recommend those of you who do have the technical questions to go to that meeting next week as well, because it's more it's more to get into the nitty-gritty of it next week as well. So that's my shameless plug for next week's admin group's session.
No shame in plugging the group. I actually think Michael's is in the meeting right now, so there's no shame in plugging another user group. We normally plug their group anyways because cool. the audience is very much a Venn diagram. Where you have the enterprise and then the admin is much more the collective of us plus the mid-market and smaller team admins, which is fantastic. I have questions for you that may be on the technical side, but maybe you'll even save some of them for other Paul, as he'll be very confused next week in the admin meeting when we start referring to him as other Paul. You got claimed as Paul Prime.
Yes, Paul number 1.
Just out of curiosity, when we were thinking about conditions, are things like skill-based routing a thing that you're considering as part of this, right? So like if it's an escalation, you might get a different layout, or it might be a return or a PO or something like that, those kind of things. Outside of just the normal like group role form type things, is there interest in even more granular permission sets that go, or more granular conditions in there? And you can also kick that to other Paul as well.
I'm probably gonna have to kick that one to other Paul. Maybe I'll call him Paul V. Paul Vaughn. I'll get him to answer that one just because I haven't actually seen the plan beyond what I presented for that particular one. So I'm excited at the idea of having more conditions, but I don't know specifically which ones because I know that I've perused the list. There's a good amount there, but there's always room for more. And again, it just for added flexibility and for all those unique workflows, the more that we can bring in, the better. But I'll make sure that I get that answer to you as soon as possible, and we can shoot it out through email as well.
Absolutely. How many layouts can we have? I know you guys are looking at efficiency and scalability, and I can see there being a need for dozens of these layouts depending on your scale. So is there a limit?
I believe that the current limit is 20, but I don't know that that's an EAP limit or if that's a GA limit. So actually, I probably need to follow up on that one as well to see if if there's if it's going to go to unlimited or some number, because again, like 20 for an enterprise company cannot go in some cases may not go very far. So let me find that out and get back to you on that one as well.
Perfect. Dan just asked a question in the chat around how you guys are designing for screen size. We have a wide range, from 17 to 49-inch ultra wides. Curious how you guys are designing for kind of accessibility, I think, at that point, Dan, right? Like that type of thing.
I know that that's been taken into account. Like you can actually design your layout according to different screen sizes, because that's other feedback that we've received as well. Like some people are on these like teeny tiny monitors in their call center, whatever they're doing, and other people have a lot more space. And to be able to maximize the real estate based on the screen size is something that you can do today. I don't think it was shown inside the demo that Paul V had put together for us, but it is something, if you go into Layout Builder, that you can actually play around with.
That's wonderful. I think that's really, really useful. Again, we could set up standardized layouts for screen size for people as well, right? And again,
Correct.
apply them to certain users. I think that's super nice. Or to our earlier point, having users select the right layout for their setup and their workflow. We talked a little bit about how Contextual Workspaces has the ability to stack and rank apps. Will this Layout Builder give us the ability to hide apps within a layout, right? So let's say, for example, it's a ticket that doesn't need the Jira app showing. Are we able just to straight up not include that in the layout and have it functionally hidden?
You should be able to, as a part of this. It's like if there's apps you don't want to show up, the admin should have control over being able to hide it. I will confirm that with Paul V, but my understanding is that yes, like you can actually hide things from the layout entirely if you want to.
That's fantastic, because I think that's something that we experience. I know Dan mentioned he has a bunch of apps, and I'm sure all of us have a ton of apps within our instance. Not every app is useful in every single type of ticket, right? Like a bug definitely needs Jira, but a standard account management ticket really only needs one app. So I don't necessarily want to bloat a layout. I really want that streamlined kind of like, this is what's important for this type of issue. And if that's possible, that's wonderful. I'm going to ask you a hard question.
Ooh, okay. They get harder.
They get so much more difficult. I'm just waiting for other people to chime in while I pick your brain. You talked about different type of components, different types of things. And this is kind of a compound question with multiple of things I've had historically given feedback on this feature on. Right now, at least the way it was, you could have one component with all of your ticket fields. Is there a world where we can build a component with specific fields in it, so we can say split up those fields into multiple components that make the most sense in a workflow, right? So you may have like a data capture fields on one, but as you work through, you might want to change the status, like a custom status field or a triage or something like that, right? As you naturally progress through. We don't necessarily want people to go back to the start to change that. Could we build a component like that? So that's the first question I have, or first part of the question.
Yeah, honestly, I'm gonna have to save that one for Paul to weigh in on, because I don't know if that's sort of part of the plan of where they're headed with this. But he'd be able to provide sort of some context on where his head is at with regards to that kind of problem, and where it sits in the sort of list of priorities as to how we might think about solving that.
Sounds like me and other Paul are going to have so much to talk about next week in the admin meeting.
I think so.
In the same vein, this again, you can always kick it to other Paul. If not native, the ability to build custom components with our own code, similar to the app framework, right? Do you ever see a world where there's a component framework to build custom things for that type of stuff?
Yeah, I don't think that we have it today, but I do recall that this has been requested before, so I think it's already sort of like it's on our radar of sort of like a sort of voice of customer requested feature, but I'd have to get product to weigh in on sort of like how they're thinking about all of that.
Perfect. No, that's kind of what I expected Obviously not a near-term goal, but like I see the natural progression of this type of feature being opened up to development, because I think of things like custom objects and sunshine objects wanting to be surfaced in Layout Builder. And whether or not you guys are interested in developing how those connect to those objects versus like giving us the tools to develop that ourselves. It's always a balancing act. I know product at Zendesk has to figure out, like, do we let people build or do we build it for them?
Correct. Exactly. A lot, you may have noticed though, like a lot of the where we're kind of moving towards like more of a no code platform direction. Like, and so what we're trying to do is remove some of that complexity by bringing, like those drag and drop components, or building that functionality. Instead of needing a developer to do it, we're actually trying to bring that power to admins. So that's sort of like the direction platform is headed lately. Not to say that we're always going to have APIs and all that stuff, but like in terms of like sort of platform roadmap, it's all about sort of, as you've probably seen, like custom objects EAP started off as just completely programmatic, but now custom objects is now another drag and drop interface that that you're building off of now. So I would imagine that sort of we'll probably try and align to whatever that platform, where that platform direction is headed, to bring that functionality in a way that best suits our users.
I think that's wonderful. I think for the vast majority of companies where they don't have engineering resources to develop, the ability to have drag and drop and low code solutions is really imperative, right? Like, it also sets you apart from a lot of other applications that require a lot more code. But then I will caveat to that with being devil's advocate, because of what I do on a daily basis. I'm not a developer, but I work a lot. I have a lot of custom development work underneath Zendesk. Where Zendesk tends to have that last mile issue tends to be where enterprise customers have to pick up the slack. So I would always be an advocate for the option, if not the requirement, right? Because sometimes enterprise, especially because this is marketed as an enterprise tool. That's from you, Dan. I still multiple years later, but it's very much like the option, because this is a marketed at an enterprise companies in general. Keeping what enterprise companies have for both resourcing and their unique individual enterprise needs is something that I'm sure you guys have in mind. But I will always take my grandstanding opportunity to get on my soapbox and advocate for.
I love that,
for developing resources.
I love that, and that like it's again like on the flip side, the Zendesk side of things. Like, I think our perspective has always been trying to find that balance between sort of democratizing the platform, and yet, I'll use your term as well, kind of still offering that last mile. Dan, I don't know what the whole thing is with you and Dan in the last mile, but I'll use last mile as well. And yeah, it's kind of striking that balance on our side between like sort of listening. We have feedback on both sides. Some people are like, the beauty of Zendesk is the whole like sort of bring that drag and drop interface, no code, fast time to value. And then the other side of things is sort of like, well, to fully customize it, we need these APIs. And so I think we're trying to, we're trying to have the best of both worlds, and to be able to address both.
That's totally what I appreciate, the best of both worlds, because we have some of our product lines that do have the engineering resources to do what they would like to do, while other product lines depend on our central
100%.
System admin to do what she needs to do. So
exactly. Those roles are very like, we think about those roles when we're building the product and whatnot. And sometimes like your operations manager is not a developer. They need to do something quickly inside Zendesk, and they don't want to wait 6 months for a developer, like the developers, to do something. So we hear that. We're very conscious of that, and that's kind of also something that plays into sort of plans and roadmap and so on. But that's great feedback.
I definitely agree with you, Paul, in the sense of like that balance is really important. I think the not the struggle, but in the enterprise space, it's hard not to be comparative, especially when we're talking to like an enterprise scale and enterprise standardized apps. So generally the feedback comes from a place of wanting Zendesk to beat the competition, right? Like a ServiceNow or an Oracle style service desk, which is, way more code but way more customizable, and like striking that balance is really important. Like we use Zendesk to support 500 million people, and I want to keep it that way. So I want to make sure that my tools can stay up to speed, so I don't have to get the question of, well, why are we using Zendesk and not ServiceNow when you can do this, that, or the other thing, right? Because I don't want to deal with that transition at all. But two, Zendesk does so much of this stuff better outside of those little minor, again, those last mile problems that just kind of, when you hit enterprise only issues, right? Like you guys develop stuff wonderfully for 95% of the customer base. And I think everyone benefits from it. It's that last 5%. And the last mile thing is, Dan and I used to work together. We were together for a couple of years, like several years ago. And it's a term that I've stolen from him. Oh yeah, he's saying the same thing. Yeah, it's like
you guys are really in sync here. I'm like listening to you. It's going live in the chat at the same time. Wow. Yeah, one mind here.
Some things haven't changed, even though I've been away from that role for 3 years.
Hive mentality going on.
Yeah, it happens. So it's a product manager mindset, or an enterprise operations mindset. That's probably a better word. So I know we're in the last couple minutes. Maybe time for one more question if anyone has it. Otherwise, Paul, thank you so much for your time today. It is immensely appreciated for you to take your time of your day to come talk to all of us. And we had a really good turnout. I think we had like almost 30 people here to listen to your presentation and
awesome.
do QA, which is fantastic. It's very much appreciated. And I think I can speak for most of us that we're excited for this kind of next phase of the Zendesk UI. I've been through Lotus. I've been through the original Zendesk UI. This is one more.
The next evolution.
One more evolution of it, right? So it's been a long time coming.
Yes, totally. And thanks, everybody. I really appreciate just being given the opportunity to speak here. It's always wonderful to be able to just get in front of our customers and be able to have these open conversations about things and just to get feedback directly from you as well. So again, hopefully there'll be another opportunity for me to come and speak about something else at some point in the future. Not that I'm inviting myself, but maybe I can.
You're invited back. Don't worry.
Cool. Awesome.
One last thing for everybody, there will be a post-event email survey coming out, and there's a place that you can add your questions. So if something comes up as you're thinking about what we were presented today, feel free to throw that in there. I'll get it to Paul, and hopefully we'll get it there in time to be discussed at the admin users group meeting next week.
Absolutely. And then next meeting will be in a month. We'll post updates of what the topic is between now and then. We'll send out a notification. We'll see if we get another guest speaker or what the topic and agenda will be for the next one. But otherwise, I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day, a great rest of the week. Thank you all for joining, participating, and asking your questions of Paul and the Zendesk team. Paul, you will be back. We will drag you back, hopefully in a happy way for the next cool feature. I think this group would be a good place to shop around feedback for you and the product team.
It's a date.
Good date.
Okay, sounds good. All right. Thanks, everyone, again. Catch you later.
Take care, everyone. Have a great rest of your week.